Good evening. Thank you for joining in. This is Woodstock Channel 23 in scenic downtown Woodstock, New York, educational television, and it's also coming to you from YouTube on Let's Live Thurman Greco. And we are in the midst of the political season, so there's a lot going on. We've been sitting here. I never talk with the guests before the show, and we've been all three talking at once the whole time. So there's a lot to cover, and we only have an hour. So I'm going to start off with, can I have some names? And introduce yourself, Anula, and talk a little bit about what's going on.
Oh, my name is Anula Courtis, and I am the Democratic candidate. I'm running for town board here in Woodstock.
And how about you, my dear?
Laura Ricci. I am also running for a specific position as town council member, but yes, part of the town board, which is made up of one supervisor and 4 town council members. So running for town council member, and I'm finishing up my second 4-year term, so I've been doing that for 7.5 years, and hoping to continue with the help of the people. And
how long are you, where are you all in your election? Meaning, what phase of the race are you in?
Well, we won the primary, and I have great gratitude to the people of Woodstock, the Democrats of Woodstock, who voted in the primary and voted us in. So Bill McKenna, Anula Courtis, and I all won the Democratic primary. We will be on the Democrat line in the general election. The phase that we're in right now is we are campaigning for the general election. I've been doing door-to-door, which is wonderful. I love meeting the people. I have had some great conversations. So we're in the door-to-door phase right now. We're getting literature out. We're coming on TV. And so it's a very busy time getting ready for the November 7th general election, and early voting starts. Well, I've got it right here on the page here. October 28th is the Saturday. October 28th is the start of early voting. So we're still looking to get the word out between now and early voting starts.
Now, this early voting, is that just, where is the early voting?
Unfortunately, for the primary, it was in Woodstock. It was right in this community center building. It is not there for the general election, so people can go to Saugerties, they can go to the Midtown Neighborhood Center in Kingston, they can go to Shokan. What they would do is they would look on the Board of Elections website. That will detail the hours that each place, where it will detail where the early voting can happen, and it will detail the hours each day that the early voting happens. So go to the Board of Elections website for the detail. But that's where people can vote early. A lot of people, I love early voting, and I'm always afraid I will forget to vote on election day. As I do door-to-door, most people say, oh, I like voting on election day. So I always share the early voting information, and a lot of people, some people like it, I love it, and some people say they'll wait till election day.
Well, and how is it being generally received? You're talking about how some people like it, some people don't like it. But does that mean that the lines are there, the people are there? What does that mean?
I've never been in a line for, well, actually Saturday and Sunday it's a little busier. Or early voting is a little busier Saturday and Sunday, but I've never really had a line. I don't really have a line when I go down to the Xena Firehouse on the regular election day either. I can't speak for everybody because I haven't done a poll, but I think everybody likes the fact that they can early vote, but just not everybody takes advantage of it. I do think people like having the choice.
I tell you what I like. I like the idea that you can go where you can get, you know?
And when you can get there.
Right. And I think that's really been helpful for voting, as far as I'm concerned.
I think so.
You know.
And the current New York State legislature, I think, has been very pro making it easier for people to vote. They want people to be able to vote. They want to give more opportunities. I think that one thing that they took away was for absentee ballots, you used to have a reason. I think now you can just say, hey, I need one. I mean, so they've really, the current legislature, I think, has done a great job in making it easier to vote so that everybody, you don't want disenfranchised voters, you want to help them vote. And I think early voting does, and our current legislature has tried to do that.
Yes. And it's, well, New York State's a wonderful place to live anyway. So we got
yes,
that going.
Lots of goodness.
So we're going to start, the voting actually starts October the 28th.
That's correct.
We're less than a month away.
Yeah. So have you candidates, have you done all of the door knocking that you can?
I'm in progress for me.
You're in
It's
progress.
in progress.
What about you, Anula?
Yeah, it's in progress. I'm going to be out on October 8th, knocking on some doors, and probably 3 more times after that. And I've been spending some of my time meeting new folks, getting to know them. They have lots of questions for me, so that's how I've been spending a lot of my time.
So knocking on doors is really important, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Do you go by yourself?
I go by myself, and I also partner up with some folks who say, hey, you know, they want to join, and I'll accept the company. That's nice.
I always enjoyed going, you know, tracking the votes, going by myself. I've had several people say, well, that's not a good idea. Well, I think it's a fabulous idea. People will ask you questions when it's just you.
Yeah.
And if you've got an entourage, they're not going to ask.
Yeah, no entourage. During the primary, I did a lot of door knocking, and I think I had somebody walk with me one day. The rest, I hiked mountains here by myself, literally in snowstorms.
And this is the loveliest town to hike mountains in, I have to
Yeah,
tell you.
sure is.
But when you're doing door to door into places that are not your neighborhood, there are some beautiful places.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a win-win. You meet wonderful people and you get some beautiful views at the same time.
Yes. So it works out beautifully.
Yes.
And so, do you plan to go everywhere just once? What is the situation?
Well, I don't think we have time to go everywhere more than once.
So you do not. So you're going to all the districts.
Well, I did my neighborhood. I need to start doing different districts. So I will. When I was getting petition signatures, I was everywhere. And so I'll try to hit different districts now. I haven't really done that yet, but that's my plan.
Okay. And what are some other things that you do besides knocking on doors?
Yeah, so for me, it's really meeting people and people who know lots of other people. I like to go outside my regular circle and initiate conversation, so I've been doing a lot of that.
And where are some places that you go? Do you go someplace and hang out? I mean, how does that work?
It's very simple. In my world, I try to keep things simple and make them effective. So I call someone and I say, would you please introduce me to somebody who I don't know? And literally, every time I ask that question, I have received an introduction, and it's been a really good one.
That's very, very interesting, because that's kind of like the standard, isn't it? You call first.
Yeah.
You call somebody up on the phone, and you make a connection, and then you go out and get in your car and go.
Yes.
I never really did that. I just went out there charging up and down.
That's what I do.
You know,
Yeah.
but it does work.
Yeah.
Does anybody, are people doing meet and greets now where they have people in their home and ask you to come? Or is that not happening now?
Well, we had some in the primary season. Well, the big thing that we have that we're gearing up for is we do have a fundraiser at the Colony, and that's going to be on October 29th. So it will be the second day of early voting, but we're going to be having some neighbor-to-neighbor people, some Woodstock Democratic Committee people are working on coordinating that, and they've got people up and down the slate who will be able to come and each speak for a minute or two. So people that come will get to meet a lot of candidates, not to mention have some great dancing with Mark Black. So we're looking forward to the Colony fundraiser on the 29th of October.
So that's coming up, and anybody can go?
Anybody can go. There will be a donation at the door, but it's a modest, and there will be a silent auction. So there are some great gifts that are being. I've seen the list of what's planned for. I don't have it all memorized, and I didn't bring the list, but there are a lot of great things that people can bid on for silent auction. And here are some great candidates. Know who it is, and it's a good chance to meet who will likely be running your government, because some of the candidates are unopposed, and other candidates I think have a great shot at winning. So in any event, people that come will get to know who's in their government, as well as knowing more about people that they may choose to vote for, as well as bidding on some wonderful silent auction items, and then dance.
Who's in charge of the silent auction? What if somebody wants to donate something to the silent auction?
You could let me know if you wanted, because I'm part of the committee for the Colony fundraiser.
Well, what are you looking for?
Well, some things, there are some people that are going to restaurants in town, because sometimes a restaurant will give a gift certificate. I think somebody's going to give music lessons. If you had something nice at home that you say, gee, I really don't need this, but it's nice, maybe it could be bid on. So I think things that people might be interested in bidding on, I wouldn't know how to tell you besides that. But there may be things that, talents you have or skills you have, or and you have different skills. So
I know that when I first moved here, the first few years that I moved here, whenever there was a fundraiser of any kind, I donated Reiki classes, which are, over 100 that were then.
Yeah.
And of course, I never charged that. But because I couldn't believe the numbers. But I gave those, and I have been known to give things.
That would be nice. That would be appreciated, and I think people would bid on that. So
to whom do I give the goodies?
The goodies. Well, I can. Amy Frady has been very involved. I can let Amy know that you're interested.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
And
So
then if
I'll
she
make a
can
note of
drop by my house or
Okay.
give me a call or something, I definitely have some things that I can share.
Okay.
And I always have a few books to put on the table.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody's ever given the books back and said nobody bid on them, so I assume
Right.
that
There you
nobody's ever given a class back or anything like that. They always seem to.
Well, I'll let Amy know and try to get her.
Okay, that's good.
So that would be excellent, and thank you tremendously, and thank you for your support, and Ellen for Ellen's support. So if we forget to say later on in the show, a huge thank you to both of you for your continuing support, and just like offering to give this year offering to the silent auction is great.
Well, Woodstock is a very political place.
I didn't know.
If you're not, are the new residents, are they discovering that?
I think so.
You think so?
I've spoken to some new residents, and
Are you telling them, hey, you moved right into a hotbed of political people? Have you told them that?
well, not exactly, but they know people are passionate. And that's one of the things I love about Woodstock and the people of Woodstock is they are passionate about what they believe in, and they have people usually have good reasons for their beliefs. I may not agree with their beliefs, but from where they stand and what they see and what they've experienced, they have reasons for coming to their beliefs, which may be different from mine. But I appreciate, and I've said before and I'll say it again, I am happy to work with anybody who is putting Woodstock first. And we may start out disagreeing, but if we're all putting Woodstock first, I think we'll find an answer that we both like.
What are some issues that you guys are discovering as you go from door to door?
The big one is affordable housing.
Is that the big one?
There's affordable, at least for me, there's affordable housing and there's the environment. Those are the two biggest issues right now in our town.
Well, the environment that's such a word.
It is a big word.
But there are things. Woodstock National is a hot topic. So Woodstock National, where there's the company that wants to come in, and in the Xena area, the WEC had come forth with defining a critical environmental area in the southeastern section of Woodstock, and the town board did adopt the critical environment area status of that area a year and a half ago. In any event, so we do have a critical environmental area in the Xena area, and that's where Woodstock National wants to build. The issue was one of their earlier designs was they wanted to have a golf course, which is not good for the environment. They wanted to have a helipad, and so they wanted to have all kinds of high-end homes. Well, that's not good for the environment, and it's not good for affordable housing. So apparently they've been altering their plan to say, okay, we'll skip the golf course. I'm not sure what happened to the heliport. And I think people will let them know that affordable housing is what people want.
Personally, the heliport means nothing to me. I'm not going to ride in a helicopter anytime soon. But if they want to have one or more irate people chasing them down the street, stick with the heliport.
I would agree.
Don't give it up.
There'll be a big march, right?
There will
be.
be worse than a big march.
Right.
A big march is too civil.
Right.
for what happens to people when you mention heliport in Woodstock.
Yeah, there you go. But I'm going to just continue just a second. But the other thing about Woodstock National, and I am on the Housing Oversight Task Force, where we're proposing a law that helps housing but also the environment. And what we're looking at is conservation subdivision. So if Woodstock National came forth with a conservation subdivision, what that means is whatever district you're in, say you have 100 acres and you're in R5, you have to have 5 acres for every lot. You can take your 100 acres and split it into 20 lots. They will be equal size. Not best for the environment. With conservation subdivision, which we want to make law with this housing proposed update, is you might still have your 20 lots, but you may have 19 of them small lots close together and a lot that's big with a lot of space, and that will preserve the environment. There are ways to go about things that do help the environment. I know you said environment is a big word, a big, huge scope, and it certainly is. But even something like Woodstock National, if they got with the program and were affordable and cared about the environment and had environment first, we'll see what people think about that. But the people hated what they said.
I have another suggestion. There's also another group of people, although so far as I can tell, it's smaller than the group about the helipad, is the environment over there in Woodstock National.
Yes, yeah,
there is a crane rookery.
Okay.
There are going to be people throwing themselves in front of the bulldozers.
Well, there are a lot of animals there, I believe.
I know, but the cranes have got it right now. They're
number one.
They should be protected more.
I mean, I agree, right? I mean, those things have to be considered. This is Woodstock. This matters.
Yes, totally.
I just, it's just when this is what you hear, and it's like this person, not this person, because then it became beyond this person. When a group of people start talking to you about cranes and rookeries, and it's like, okay.
Well, but I'm not sure if anybody's talking about, I heard that there's also a landing strip for little airplanes.
Oh, God.
And I'm not sure if that's true or not.
No.
So that's something that I'm also looking into a little bit.
That's
going to be just as bad as the helipad.
That will send people frothing at the mouth. And
Can you imagine? So
I can imagine. I have lived through that.
Don't know if it's true, but that's what I hear. And everything that we hear around this topic must be verified these days. Cranes included, cranes and planes.
Cranes and planes.
Must be verified. But if there is that, forget it.
Yeah, the thing about the heliport, have you heard the story about the heliport?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, when I first moved here, there was, it sounded like a club of very, very wealthy people had a helipad somewhere, and they would come and go at will, 2 a.m., 5 a.m., midnight.
Wake up the neighborhood.
Absolutely, and cared nothing about it.
So there really was a heliport?
Oh, yeah, there really was.
Wow.
I don't know if it was a heliport or if it was one guy with a helicopter, but it was in the minds of people in this town, it was huge and noisy, and didn't happen at 10 a.m., it happened at 3 a.m.
Well, it's noise pollution, it is light pollution, it is air pollution, the fumes from, the fuel. I mean, it's just a difficult thing in a quiet rural area.
One of the gossips that I heard is that one of the men, one of the people who was involved in the heliport, the helicopter, whatever, is now a Buddhist monk somewhere in the mountain. This is no joke. In the mountain, maybe out in Nevada somewhere, but out very quiet, very quiet. And when you listen to that story and hear, it seems funny, but it wasn't funny at the time.
Oh, sure.
It was not funny at the time.
What part of town?
I'm over at Tannery Brook. I'm right down in the middle. So, and so I do know that I heard it a lot, but I didn't.
Wow.
I came from the DC metro area,
Yeah.
It's like people coming from Brooklyn. There's a lot of noise, who knows?
Yeah.
But that's the history. One of the things I'm also hearing, and it makes a lot of sense, is that why have a community in which you're building multi-million-dollar homes? Because if a person wants to build a multi-million-dollar home, they're just going to strike out on their own and get what they want. Does that make sense?
No, I'm not sure what you're saying. Why is it? I mean, I don't think we need more multi-million-dollar homes here, but I'm not quite. I didn't follow
In that group, in that group that you're talking about.
The Woodstock National.
Yeah, yeah. So, and how is that going to help our need for affordable
Oh,
housing?
it won't. I mean, that won't. I mean, there's somebody that is looking to make money. They see Woodstock as a wonderful place to live, which it is for a long list of reasons. Woodstock is a great place to live. And then they have New York City people with gobs of money, and they say, hey, we got this wonderful town, Woodstock, this is within the Woodstock border, let's put some multi-million-dollar homes so that all these wealthy New Yorkers can come plop down here, second homes, whatever. It's not right for Woodstock.
No.
It's actually the opposite, because it would contribute to raising property prices. So it would push more people out, it would redefine the middle class, it would redefine at that scale, it would redefine the wealthy here. And so we have to really consider that, all joking aside. It really would not help, it would harm.
Totally.
On that level.
It would totally harm affordable housing, that direction, which is why people are up in arms against it. There, between the heliport, between the golf course, and between let's have housing for the wealthy, it's not what Woodstock needs. Woodstock needs affordable housing. Needs housing, as people say, if somebody works in town, they can't afford to live in town. And we need to have people who work in town be able to afford to live in town.
Yes.
So clearly, if that property were used for affordable housing and handled in an environmental way, let's go look at that plan. But the plan they proposed, people have very good reason for opposing it.
And I think some of the seniors would be kicked out, basically, because when you're on a fixed income, there's not much opportunity to go and make additional income. The idea might be that taxes go up, school taxes or other taxes. So I think it would be actually really damaging.
Well, there's a lot of talk. And so I think that's one of the very important things that you guys are dealing with.
Yeah.
And it's not going to go away.
And it's a topic that has affordable housing, it's got all wrapped up in it, it's got the environment all wrapped up in it, and it's got history all wrapped up in it. So it's quite a big topic.
Yes. And what about, has anybody heard from RUPCO? About anything? If you're talking about housing.
I think they were consulted back before Lasher's was sold. I think RUPCO was consulted about that because one of the thoughts was maybe Lasher's can be affordable housing. And I think that RUPCO has a formula of they would need to have so many units to be able to make it a project that they would dive into.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure whether Lasher's met that. And that's a good question about whether RUPCO could be consulted about the Woodstock National Property. That's a very good question.
My question, I mean, all the heliport, I'm not concerned. I really feel that if a heliport goes through, it's going to be trashed. The residents are going to take care of that. So, but I'm wondering about water. Is there enough water? Will there be enough water? Parking spaces, there are not enough parking spaces now.
In town, for all the people that are in town.
So, where are these people going to go? Because they can't just come cruise around, the street looking for a parking place. It's not, So that is the real issue for me. The rest of it is whatever. It's just too much, What are some other issues that we have?
Well, STR is an issue. So the STR task force completed their job. I'm the chair of the zoning revision committee, and so what we're diving into now, we have just passed the scenic overlay law back to the town board because we want to preserve the viewscape. As we all drive through town, we don't want to look up at the mountains and see lots of houses and glaring roofs and whatnot. We'd like to see nature and trees. And so the scenic overlay law had a few holes in it. So our zoning revision committee has shored up those holes, gave the scenic overlay law to the town board. They reviewed it, had a public hearing. There are people that had some comments. We took it back to handle those comments, merge them, change what we need to be changed, and we've just passed that back to the town board. So the next thing we're working on is STRs. So people have different views on those short-term rentals as well, but we're taking the short-term rental task force, completed their job. They have about a 12-page report. So the first thing that we're doing, we'll be doing it at our next meeting in October. We're going to be reviewing what the STR task force had. We're also considering the Hurley law is considered to be a very good STR law. We're going to look through that as a committee and see what looks good out of that. And then we've already got some ideas. We'd like to simplify the law, but make it. We want to keep the character of Woodstock. We want to keep it a community as much as possible. People will still be able to do STRs, but we want to have as much long-term housing as we can have because it makes it more affordable. If you have more housing, supply and demand, you raise the supply, then the price goes down. It may not go down. You can't guarantee how much it will go down, but that's the idea of let's have more units that are long-term housing, and that should help things. So we are looking into the short-term rental law, and that's what we're doing with the Zoning Revision Committee. I'm also on the sign committee. There's a big sandwich board opposition. I haven't seen a compromise solution yet that we'll work our way to, but I've been working with the sign committee on, we're starting out talking about sandwich boards, because right now they're prohibited, but when you drive down the street and the Playhouse has a show today sign and it's up on the lawn, it's really not, I don't believe it's an eyesore, and it's not a danger to anybody. They're not going to trip over it because it's at the end of their parking lot on the grass and nobody's walking up there. So we're looking at sandwich boards and when might they be useful, but some people say never ever. So I am looking into that. Pollinators, we want to make Woodstock officially a pollinator community, and so I've had several meetings with the pollinator pathway people who are also Woodstock Land Conservancy, and then other people in town also had thoughts on it. The pollinator resolution has been on the town board agenda twice already, but each time somebody has stood up and said, no, but I don't like it just the way it is, and it's pulled back down. So it's been pulled down for the second time, and I'm working with a group of people to say, so because people don't want us to be too, we all want pollinators, we want the environment, we want things to be good. There's a long list of reasons why we want pollinators. We want the bees, we want the birds, we want the plants, it's the whole ecosystem that'll get thrown off if we don't have pollinators. So we definitely want them, but some people say, well, we don't want Annie Lee Field to be all pollinators because now you can't go sit there when you want to watch the fireworks. And there's some places that the town has purposefully preserved for the people to walk on. So where's the balance with, we're going to have more pollinators than we've had, but we also want to make sure people can still use the area. So that's another thing that I've been working on is getting the right balance. And I think balance is the big word for me, is like with the sign committee, balance. The shopkeepers want one thing, the people of Woodstock, people that walk through town, they want something different. Where's the balance? Pollinator, again, where's the balance? Let's find the right balance. So there's a number of things. I'm working with the Environmental Commission. I've helped them. They're going forward for a composting grant. They're asking for $60,000. The town, I had worked with Bill McKenna when Bill was building his plan for the unexpended fund balance, I think they call it, where if you bring in more money, and of the many things where I think Bill is a great supervisor, for one reason, every year he's been supervisor, the town budget has been within the tax cap and the spend has been within the budget. But when your spend is below the budget, that's the unexpended fund balance. And what are you going to use that money for? You don't want the pot to grow too big because you're not serving the people of Woodstock. You want to take that and use it for good things. And we've been using it for housing, but we're also carved some of it out and put it $20,000 for composting. And with that, the WEC is going forward for a grant that's a 75% grant, so they can go forward for a $60,000 grant because the town's reserved $20,000. And then they would, if they get it, they get a total of $80,000. But I've been working with the WEC and trying to help them. There are some snags in the grant gateway. I forget what the exact name of it is, but I was working in the supervisor's office with them to get them the right authority so that they can actually get this grant submitted. So there's definitely a lot going on. that I think is good for the environment and good for, and so those are the areas I've been working most recently, plus the housing. And I fully agree with what Anula said, that housing and the environment are the two biggest things. So between the pollinators, the scenic overlay, let's get conservation subdivisions if you're going to subdivide.
When you talk about sidewalks,
Yes, complete streets, yes, and that's a DOT, New York State DOT project coming up in the next year or two. Yes, where they're doing the planning phase, and we're gonna get better sidewalks from Rock City Road out to Schoonmaker Lane, out beyond the post office.
that's nice, that's nice.
Yes, it's in the design phase right now, and it's funded. Yay.
Because I know that now, when you talk about signs and walkability, a town
Yes.
is a walkability. I live right down in town and you can't walk. I can't.
Because of,
Too many people, 2 cars are going too fast. And people are lost, they just turn, it's just.
they stop in their tracks and there you are.
And truthfully, I in my neighborhood, almost everybody I know is a short-term rental.
Some neighborhoods have become that,
Yeah,
right?
so how can you go back?
Well, but the thing about the housing law that's being proposed is, and what I'll say about that is it was first delivered about a year and a half ago, and then the Housing Oversight Task Force, which I'm part of, spent about 10 months gathering, digesting information, making updates based on the information, gave it back to the town board about 6 months ago, and in the last 6 months has been digesting input that came from there. So I don't know how much we can go back. Well, to some degree we can, because we have a cap for the short-term rental, and we can change the short-term rental law, and we can, there's different ideas that we have to try to reduce the number that we have today. But I think the bigger deal is that the proposed housing law will clamp down a bit on future STRs, because if somebody wants to have an accessory dwelling unit, which is you have your house, you want to build another dwelling unit on your property, the new proposed law says that that can't be a short-term rental. So there are different things that we have some people who will be grandfathered, but we can also, with the new housing law and the short-term rental law, we can, it wouldn't be a change overnight, but we might be able to make some changes so that over time, things get a little less STR and a little more long-term rental. And especially if people are doing new development, we have a lot more influence there, because if people are grandfathered, that needs to be respected. But if people haven't built it yet, we can say, hey, well, your new law is if you're going to build it, here are the parameters.
Yeah. I think with the change in the economy, that will shift.
And which change are you referring to?
Well, if the economy tanks.
Well, yes. Well, COVID drove everybody out of the city, and that was a change in the economy, in a lot of ways. So yes, there are a lot of things that happen in the world that can change the property values here.
Yeah, and that will change. Well, what other things are we working on?
Well, so some of the other things include lots of people are concerned about music, preserving music outside. At the same time, how do we have people sleep at night because they work from home, a lot of folks here. We do have, it appears to be that we have more younger families here, some of them with kids, and we, I think, need to address that a little bit more actively going forward. I know the folks are working on it. I also know that some of the residents would hop on a task force and they want to have the opportunity to join and contribute. The solution that's out there right now is to call the police. I think a lot of people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
They don't want to be up at 1 a.m. in the first place. Yeah. So, how could we work on this balance? Because we want and need music, but we might not need it at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? So,
right.
So that's a bit of a challenge. Some other things that we're looking at are very different. So zoning is a big one. It's a big, serious one. I think that there's a lot of misinformation out there about the zoning laws that are being proposed. And I fully expect that that's going to be a big battle here, because there is quite a bit of fear-mongering around it. It's so big. Have you seen it? Have you read it? You know, and some of it is warranted, and some of it, I think, just stops progress. And so we need things to go forward, and we need housing, and we need affordable housing, as well as like a moderate income housing, like regular people who have a fixed salary or a fixed income. Those are the folks who are on the edge right now, and we don't want them to be the next ones who have to leave this town. So that's going to be a big focus. I would look forward to that. I think that'd be fun, because the housing committee and those groups have done such a good job that I think they would make the job easy for the town board, right? So I think that would be a good one. And then completely separate, we have a bear task force in town. And so in an effort to try to help newer people learn about how to interact with the wildlife here, we have done some interesting things very swiftly, and we will do some interesting things next year. We're going to go, we hope to be at Woodstock Elementary School, working with young kids and teaching them about bears. This is in partnership with the DEC, so that's a lot of fun, but very effective. And yeah, I think we could mix up some environmental animal things in this whole equation. So I know when we speak about the environment, we think about very important topics like pollution and water and things like that, but we have a beautiful animal life here. And so how we could help people interact safely. And part of it is legislation. So we will actually, we're going to do this before the election. The Bear Task Force will be asking for legislation to be adopted to help ensure that Airbnbs have certain signs posted, and that also they have to lock their trash cans, so that we don't have a situation where those bears who are trained to eat human food get euthanized. So we'd like to prevent that here in Woodstock. So those are some of the other topics here.
I think that's a really fun thing. The animal part can be fun.
Yes.
Because we really are living in this wonderful sanctuary.
Yes.
I mean, we've named the deer, we've named the bears, we've named the raccoons.
Exactly.
And you can have a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I know that when my oldest daughter moved here from California and my grandchildren came, the things that they noticed when they came from the city, you know, water has an aroma here in Woodstock.
Interesting.
You know, and there are things, and you know, that's so neat.
It is.
It is. That is something. So having classes and having a task force and learning about bears and learning about the cranes, I'll tell the crane lady.
Well, the cranes
don't
might
worry.
be next.
Yes.
Right? Once we're working on the bears, the cranes could be next.
Yes. That's a very, very important thing.
It's very fun. It's also a chance to help people learn a lot about animals, in this case, the bears. And Woodstock actually, the DEC approached Supervisor McKenna, and he immediately jumped in and said, yes, let's form a task force. And so we've got 9 folks on that task force. We were formed officially July 19th. I think that was our first meeting. And we already have jumped into things very swiftly, and the DEC actually is saying that they want to use our photos and things from one outreach event as a model to other communities. And so now I know that as far as Vermont, people are like, we should have one too. And so it's very interesting, and it is fun because you feel like you're doing a great thing. And it's just so easy to move so swiftly because everybody's aligned on this topic. So we can find common ground here.
That sounds fabulous.
It is. Yeah.
Because, you know, we've had deer that have been coming through our yard for years.
Right.
And all of these animals have been coming through our yard for years.
Right.
It's not that they're coming through our yard It's that we're living in their
We
park.
live in there,
Totally.
exactly.
You know, and so to kind of push it that way is a great thing. That's a very positive
It is
thing.
very, very positive, and we're gonna also think about how we might further engage young people and maybe have some kind of a creative art contest. So, you know, and think about how their art might be around town. So we're moving, and it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it a lot. So looking forward to expanding that next year.
And there are a lot of people, not a lot, but there are some, more than you would think, animal rehabilitators in this town who could definitely participate.
Yes, yeah.
And so that has a lot of potential.
I think so. I think, so a focus on community and the things that we could wrap our, you know, set aside our politics for 5 minutes and wrap ourselves, like say, hey, you know, this is why we moved here in the first place. If we can successfully do some of that, I would feel happy about that, and I plan to work for that. We also, the town has a newly founded Rotary Club, and the Rotary Club is something that they're looking for ways to get involved in our community and to be of service to this community. And so more to come on that maybe the next time. But for me, one of the things that I'd like to do is look at how can we look at whatever it is that we're looking at, how can we look at it from the lens of human rights? How can we look at it from the lens of community? What are the things we agree on? The rest, even if we set that aside for now, it seems that we could get used to having successes. And maybe we'll like each other more, right? As we are moving things forward and having success. And I'd like to see our community come back. I feel that we lost a little bit of that during
Anula, I
COVID.
think that's the most important thing that can happen to Woodstock, is having some successes coming back again.
Yeah, we need to focus on where we agree and do it together.
Yes. That can save this place.
Yes, I believe in that.
So that's fabulous. Has there been any talk, and this is totally off the wall, but several years ago there was talk of having an electrical source for everyone.
Electrical
Solar.
solar. Oh, solar.
Is anybody talking solar in Woodstock
Younger
anymore?
people. So there's this hidden 30-something-year-old crew.
Yes.
And they're like invisible, maybe into their early 40s. And what I've heard is they're even beyond solar. So solar is something that they're very interested in, but these are people who have a day job and they want to be heard, which is why I want those town halls where we can engage more in, you know, with housing, what are the things that we want to bring in and allow, because the legislation has to support allowing certain types of toilets. Never thought we'd talk about toilets, right?
Oh,
But
that's a big one.
I had a 40-minute lesson on the different types of toilets that don't actually leach into the ground. And they work even better maybe than compost toilets. And so, yeah, we have people who do talk about it. And if I win, I'm excited about opening the space so that we could hear them in a more public forum.
Yeah, the other thing, if I may, so besides solar, the other thing that I'm involved with is the geothermal. We got that back in April. The town, we were involved with Cloud Harbor Associates, CHA, in terms of going forward for a $100,000 grant to do a study of an analysis of whether geothermal will work, community geothermal in Woodstock. And so solar is one way to get your power, your energy, your electricity, your heat. Geothermal focuses on getting heat, and it focuses on getting heat from under the ground. Because the idea is that if you pull out way deep in the ground, 55 or whatever degree temperature it is, if you bring that up, then there is a way for the right technology to separate out the heat from the cold. So you're always getting that constant temperature under the ground. In the summertime, you need to have some air conditioning so it pulls out the cold. And in the wintertime, you need heat and it pulls out the heat. And the idea of community geothermal is I might not, for my property, be able to do geothermal all by myself, but if we as a town, just like for water, we have a water department, just like for sewer, we have a sewer department, well, it would be great if we could have a town geothermal system around town so that we're helping people get their heat without needing an oil truck or a liquid propane gas truck coming to deliver. And let's get it right out of the ground, let's get it done environmentally. So I've been involved, I was as part of the group that gathered the information needed to go submit the grant. The grant, we submitted it back in August of last year. It got approved. It took them a while to get it approved. It got approved in April of this year. And Clow Harbor has been taking the lead, and we've been having monthly meetings with them, sharing what they're doing. At the last meeting that I attended, they do have several spots in town, some town-owned properties and one that's not town-owned. So, but the town could perhaps lease that property to say, hey, here would be some good fields that could be used. And there's geothermal at the town hall, for example. And, you know, my question on the call was, well, what are you going to see above the ground? Well, the same thing as you see above the ground at the town hall, nothing. You see nothing above the ground, but the infrastructure is actually in the building, a little room in the building, just like you have a little room in most buildings that have your oil tank or whatever. There's a little room in the building that has the equipment that handles the geothermal processing. But geothermal is something that we're heavily involved with, and we're doing the analysis. It looks extremely promising. Phase 1 is we get the grant for the analysis. Phase 2 is we'll hope to get a grant for design, and phase 3 would be implementation. But the analysis is, as it's progressing, is looking very promising. So that's another environmental thing that I've been involved with that does look very promising, because you have solar, and that's a wonderful source of energy that's green, but geothermal is another, so we have different things we're looking at.
Well, that's really important, because I know that 15 years ago, somebody took me out to a piece of land out around Bearsville and said, you see this? We could get enough solar panels here for the entire community.
Yeah, well,
and that was 15 years.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Well, and there was a solar project, and it fell through back when I was deputy, because before I was on the town board, I was deputy supervisor, and during the year or two that I was deputy supervisor, the town was trying to go for solar over by the water treatment plant on 212, kind of at that end of town, on the east end of town, and they even had signed a contract with a company. They had 4 companies that had put in bids, and they signed a contract with the company, but the company, I think, they didn't really have the right stuff to deliver on what they said they would deliver, and so the contract fell through, and that didn't happen. So, but I think besides solar, there's also geothermal for things. There are different things to look at, depending on what you're trying to get. The solar will give you electric, and then, but if you need heat, the geothermal does, and you get your air source heat pumps. So there are different combinations of solutions to be green, because different areas we need to be green, and there's different solutions that we can put in place to be green. So it's good to look into all those things.
How far in the future is that?
The geothermal?
Mm-hmm. Any of them?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we're going to see a solar field in Woodstock. I don't think anybody right now is building one. The other hope was we'd get a solar field out by the where the old dump was, the closed down dump. There was a hope that there could be a solar field out there, but the trick there was how to connect it in a cost efficient way, because it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, and can it get connected into so that what gets generated there can be used. So I don't see, there's not a current solar project that I know to do more solar than we have. Through Central Hudson, you can sign up and say, well, I want to have my energy come from all green, but will there be a solar farm in Woodstock? I don't think anybody's working that right now. The geothermal, how many years would it take? We're doing the analysis now, probably be done, December, January. We would need to put another grant. It took us 8 months for that grant once we got it submitted to get it approved. And the grant program that was part of is ending, but the director of NYSERDA, New York State, who's been on the calls, expects New York State to put another program in place, because they do want to be very green by 2030. So they're expecting to have New York State have a follow-on program that we could then apply to. So I don't know how many years it would be, because, again, we're in the analysis phase. Next would be design, next would be implementation. we need to submit the grant, we need to wait until we get the answer, then we need to do that phase. And
Well,
then
now that solar program, that was just, you're ready for it to go and the people just fell through.
They did, and I think there are several things that happened. I think cost of energy went down. When the town was going to do solar, again, I was deputy supervisor, I wasn't a voting member at the time, but my recollection of that is that things changed in terms of the cost of things. If the town had done solar, it was actually going to cost us more money to get our energy from solar, but we were going to do it because it was green. And then I think, but aside from this company kind of dropping the ball, besides that, I think things changed in terms of the cost of doing solar versus the cost of the town of the energy today. And so it hasn't been resurrected, and it's an interesting thought for the future to say, is it, when might be the time to resurrect the solar part of it? I don't know yet.
What about children?
We love them. We love them. We wish they had a school. We wish, let me say two things. I would certainly love the Woodstock school to stay forever and ever, because it'd be lovely to continue to have the elementary school right in our town. I will also say I had sticker shock when I got my school bill. So, that's one thing I've heard door to door, is people sticker shock when they got their school bill. And of course, my street is in the Kingston School District. So I'm the last house in Onteora. The house next door is in the Kingston School District. So when I walk down my street that way, and the Kingston School District, their school taxes went up by quite a bit too. So everybody is unhappy with the sticker shock with their school tax bill. And I'm hoping for miracles from our school board, who the people that I wanted got in to the school board. But hey, what can we do? How can we keep? And I know that's what's being said. It's just unaffordable to keep the Woodstock school, and the taxpayers are paying for that. I so much want to keep the Woodstock school. So God bless them in terms of good luck finding the answer there, because I know it's a tough decision. I would love to see the Woodstock school stay forever. But I also, how much cost will the people of Woodstock be willing to cover? Because you probably had a higher tax bill too.
I don't know. The taxes that I have here in New York State, to me, are so reasonable and so wonderful. I can't complain about any of them.
Yeah.
I'm just sorry to say. I came from the Washington, D.C. metro area, and I saw what happens when you spend your money and you get nothing. And here,
Right.
you pay your taxes and you get.
Well, the town, when you get your bill in January, it's four things. It's combined, it's one bill, but there's four things lumped in. There's the town of Woodstock, there's Ulster County tax, there's fire, because the town collects the money and gives it to the fire district, that's a separate district, and then you've got the library, which is another separate district. So the people vote for the library budget, whatever the people vote for, the town of Woodstock collects that too. So when you get your January bill, you have four things. And I believe that they're reasonable, and those four things added together are always less than the September school tax bill. So I fully agree with you, and as I said a few minutes ago, Supervisor McKenna every year has kept the budget within the tax cap, he's kept the spend within the budget. He is so careful with the money of the people of Woodstock, because, when some people say, oh, the town ought to pay for this and that. Well, every time the town pays for this and that, the taxpayers pay for this and that. And Bill is totally careful about making sure we're paying for the necessities, and if we're going to do something that is discretion, meaning you don't have to do it but you could, he is totally careful at spending money that doesn't have to be spent, because he's watching it like it's his own money. So I don't know enough about the school board and their budget, and are they as efficient as they can be? I don't know, but I can tell you, the school tax bill is a big bill, and the town has no control over the school tax bill.
Well, aren't they going to close the Woodstock's elementary school?
I don't know their final answer. I don't know if you know.
I don't know. I still see the signs up, keep Woodstock schools open, and these are on the lawns of young families here. And we were working very hard to attract young families here, and now they're here.
The last time that was up for grabs, a woman, I cannot remember her name, suggested that it would be wonderful if we closed the elementary school and sold it to a hotel.
Oh, no.
And that prompted a march.
Marches, yeah. I bet it was a big, swift one.
It marched right over here to the community
Yeah.
center
Yeah.
and ended in an evening of questions and answers. You know, we laugh now, but it was like, here they come. Here they come. Here they come. You know, so now when I see that building, I think if we can just skip the hotel part. You know?
Oh, totally. What I have a wish, and I think it will probably never happen. But I do have, and I'm not in a position in the town board to make it happen. However, I would love to have a senior living, an affordable senior living space. So many people in Woodstock are above 55, and I would love to have a senior residence, because when people become seniors, sometimes it's just too much to handle their property.
But I'm telling you.
And I would love to have a place that seniors can live, so they're kind of, you know, so that there's somebody that checks in if they don't show up for dinner, that their meals are cooked. My mother used to live in a place that was independent living, where she could come and go as she wanted. She didn't have a car, but some people did have cars. But the meals were cooked. You didn't have to worry about handling the grounds, and it wasn't assisted. There's different levels of that. There's independent living. There's assisted living, meaning you can't get your meds by yourself. You don't need help every day. But you know, and then nursing home is you really can't do anything by yourself. And it would be, I would love to see Woodstock provide some service so that so the seniors, of which there are a ton in Woodstock, don't have to leave
We have
Woodstock
the oldest community in Ulster
later.
County.
And I would love to have
And
services.
you know what happens? I tell you when they move out, when we move out,
Yeah.
is when we can't drive anymore.
Well, yeah. And if we had
When we can't drive,
yeah.
we have to move out.
But-
We don't have a choice.
But if we had a center, an independent living where people could live, so they don't have to worry so much about the meals because they'll get cooked, and if you don't show up for dinner, we have a 5 coming from Eleanor. So if you don't show up for dinner, that somebody will come knock on your door to make sure 4. We have a 4 from Ellen. That somebody will come knock on your door.
We're down to 4.
So I'd love to have the services. I don't know how to, you know, I don't have an answer yet for making it happen, but that's a vision of mine. I would love to see.
All I have to say,
route.
we're down to 3 minutes.
Yeah, but, okay.
Is we are going to have our licenses revoked long before you get the senior center.
Well, they do put the idea of like,
Yeah, there you go.
in the meanwhile, there could be something that helps pick people up.
Well, it's very
Right.
good.
So
Excellent.
again, the
Excellent.
intermediary, like those in between steps, right, step by step.
Yeah.
And same with the youth and the rec center. I think that's something that the supervisor actually has
Absolutely.
in
We're going to
progress.
have to talk about that next
Yeah.
time, because we're down to 2
Yeah,
minutes.
Can I just say real quick, this is our brochure. I hope a lot of people will be receiving this. Bill McKenna, Anula Courtis, and I each asked for your vote. I firmly believe, and I have since we started running together in February, that the 3 of us are the best. We will. I firmly believe that the 3 of us will serve Woodstock the best for the next years.
She's cutting us off. Oh, thank you so much, Ellen.
Okay, but I asked for your vote for the 3 of us. It's a critical election. We need a quorum of people that all care about Woodstock. The 3 of us care tremendously about Woodstock. We're not going to start. We're all leaders in our own rights. We're not going to agree from the get-go, but we will work things out, putting Woodstock first. I asked for your vote on Election Day. If you early vote, great. If you vote on November 7th, great. Please, I ask for your vote.
Thank you so much, Ellen, and thank you so much, ladies. I look forward to having guests here next week.
And thank you, Thurman and Ellen.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful, Ellen. Thank you.